Halo CE, like the reputation of that game and what it did for the gaming industry and I guess Halo fans in general. If 343 don't do it right again, I don't want to be there for that. I don't want to be there to see the reaction. Let's just say that.
If they have proper time and budget, I think they could do it. So long as they don't make any blindingly poor, decisions. Like including something like Sprint or something.
Which I've heard.
We haven't had a proper classic Halo experience, arguably, since Halo 3 in 2007. So why don't we give that kind of gameplay loop and formula another try? Maybe it's worth just going back to the roots, literally, with the CE remake, and in terms of gameplay as well, with how it was done.
Hello everyone. This is The Infinite Show. I'm Shredded Nerd, and I'm joined by...
Blake Ballarden. Hello there, everyone. We're back after a long hiatus. We've returned.
Yes, we have. I'm Footed Ghost. What's happening, people? Maybe the last time we are talking for the next 6 months. We'll see. It feels a bit that way. It feels like it.
The news has been, a leak. And it's very credible.
Yeah.
Oh, very credible. Okay.
Well, not all of them have been very credible.
But this one.
Some of them have a bit more substance than others. And this one that matters is that there's a Halo CE remake, apparently, in the works.
Right.
Now, personally, I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
I know about you guys.
Okay,
but,
interesting.
Yeah, I think they had to kind of just cut their losses and start over,
With Infinite, or just the way they were going with Halo in general?
With Halo, yeah.
Okay. I actually disagree. I think, straight away, it's going to be interesting. I think if they are spending more time and resources to move away from, let's say, the mainline Halo games to go back to Halo CE, then I will actually hate that. Because I think the legacy of Halo CE, if they don't do it right the second time, most Halo fans are going to be so checked out and absolutely furious at 343 to try even, if not remaster, but remake the next remake Halo Combat Evolved yet again, because we're hearing some rumors that it's either remake or remaster, and it doesn't matter if 343 can't get it right this time and they don't make it properly, they don't make it well up to the standard that Bungie did. Halo fans are going to go nuts. They're going to hate that. So why spend all that time and effort doing that when you could be working on the next Halo story? Halo 7, Halo the Endless, who knows what the fuck it's going to be called? Who knows?
The Endless.
But they need to be working on the next Halo to just keep that story going. And if it takes time and manpower out of that to focus on trying to bring Halo games to PlayStation, I think it's a big waste of time. With that said, if 343 aren't the only ones doing it, and they are having another team helping them, do the Halo remasters, then I'm okay with it, or Halo remakes. I will be okay with that, purely because it won't just be 343 focusing on that. And until we know that, I personally think it's a bad idea.
No, I mean,
okay.
I think that there's merit to both sides here. I'll just be the equalizer. There is so much potential for a CE remake to be done well and to be done right, and to learn the lessons from Combat Evolved Anniversary and not be a glorified $50 asset flip.
Yeah.
And just more faithfully reimagine the original game in terms of art style, in terms of sound design, in terms of just overall general presentation. There's sort of more, lore and story that has since been fleshed out since the original game came out that could be incorporated into it somehow. But on the other side of things as well, and I was talking to Ghost about this earlier, 343, since they took the reins of the Halo franchise, have been, one, hyper-reactionary, but two, at the same time, very, very easy to predict in terms of what they're doing, which is just making more mainline Halo games, and there's massive expectations around the mainline Halo games. But in terms of how reactionary they are as well, it hasn't boded particularly well for the story of the different games, because there's no real strand between Halo 4 and 5 and Infinite that you can kind of use to connect them all together. They feel very disassociated from the last one. And doing a CE remake feels like Like that's the, that's kind of like the final straw where they're like, they're going so far away from the previous game that they're going back in time and it hasn't even fucking happened yet.
They're just going back to the fucking beginning.
Yeah. Especially because Infinite Story, I thought was like, I think looking back on it, I do have some issues with it now that I might have glossed over previously, but I think it was a step in the right direction and it was setting up a lot of interesting ideas. And so to potentially not see that at all, and to just, go back to square one is a bit of a missed opportunity. But again, we don't know. We don't know fucking shit.
Don't know.
We have no fucking idea.
We don't even know if it's real.
We could be getting the CE remake and a potential, Halo Infinite sequel some point down the line. It's like, we don't know. It's so up in the air now, and there's no kind of communication. Like, I think the most we have officially from 343 is that they're working on multiple Halo projects, and that could be anything from a fucking gotcha mobile game with a Halo skin to Halo Wars 3. We don't know.
Yeah.
No idea. No idea.
I think I heard rumors of a Halo 4 Spartan Ops remake. That's just what I've been hearing. Apparently the Halo fans have been asking for it.
That's exciting. That's awesome. We needed that.
I agree.
Well,
yes. Yeah.
Finally, we're eating good.
fellas.
Well, I mean, if they put the Halo 4 dubstep in the trailer to market it, I reckon that'd go pretty hard.
I'll get my money straight away.
I'd be down for
Fuck
that.
yeah. Fuck yeah. No. I think for every subsequent Halo game they made, like Halo 4 and 5, as you said, they're not really consistent in the vision. So they kind of had to keep throwing everything out and starting over. Like, when they went to Halo 5, they're like, oh, we're doing even starts again. Like, that was the selling point. Like, man.
Oh, brother.
And they had to keep on starting over, and it was just a complete mess.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, some things are just unsalvageable. You just gotta
You think cut their losses?
start over from the beginning, Yeah. But obviously, if you do it, you have to really nail it. Like, they can easily fuck it up, and I feel like, yeah, people will definitely check out if they fuck
Absolutely.
this up.
Like Halo CE, like the reputation of that game and what it did for the gaming industry and I guess Halo fans in general. If 343 don't do it right again, I don't want to be there for that. I don't want to be there to see the reaction. Let's just say that. Jesus.
Yeah, it's like the ultimate kind of gamble, right?
Yeah.
Like it almost feels like a political move almost. Like, they're gambling their 343 are gambling their re-election on this CE remake and whether or not it lands or not. It's I want to give them the benefit of the doubt because 343 as a development team, as a company, I think has changed a lot, even within the last couple of years, like between the leadership changes that we've discussed before. There seems to be gears moving behind the scenes. Maybe we're not in on all of it, but it seems like with how they handled Infinite's post-launch content after sort of 2021 and later into 22 and 23, things were picking up and it was looking a lot better. Now, I could take it or leave it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just tricky. I think if 343 are to do it, I would very much appreciate if they got some legacy Bungie devs on board in even just an advisory capacity, just to be like, this is what we were initially intending for the game, and if you're planning on building upon it, then maybe take some of those old ideas and flesh them out now, as opposed to maybe taking it off in a completely new direction, which would be somewhat frightening. Like the whole, I mean, I don't know how likely it is, but there's Marcus Leto sticking his head in every now and then, being like, maybe you guys could do this, and I'm thinking, well, maybe
no Bungie.
Yeah,
that'd be too cool. That would be good if they did that. So that means they're not going to do it.
Do it now.
It's too good of an idea.
No, they already said no. No Bungie.
Too late. Yep.
But again, if 343 has undergone enough of a change behind the scenes with the new leadership, maybe it'll be different. I mean, they said no Bungie, but they got Joe back. So and Paul Bertone. So maybe
They didn't even use him, though.
Maybe it'll change.
They got Paul,
Yeah,
Gasol,
no,
and they didn't even fucking use him. Oh, that still pisses me off.
That was
One of the greatest level designers. And it just,
that was
like, oh god,
that was a social experiment for sure.
it
That
was. Yeah,
If they have proper time and budget, I think they could do it. So long as they don't make any blindingly poor, decisions, like including something like sprint or something.
which I've heard. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah. There's
I saw one
Yeah.
flame
Which
and like clamber and stuff,
yeah, sprint and clamber.
which is a bit disappointing. They're that committed to it, and that they just can't go without it.
Yeah, they need to test the waters without it, I think.
Yeah, they really just need to try not doing that.
Yeah, just
They've tried it every
anything
single
else.
Just whatever you're doing, don't do it. Just
Yeah, whatever you're doing, you've done it this every single time, and it's always been a problem.
Yeah.
It's never like added to the game. You need to like fully commit to what Halo is.
I mean, like Halo Infinite kind of removes it to the point where they're kind of saying, well, fuck, we're trying to keep it in the game, but it's not really as useful as, say, Halo 5 or Halo 4. But I guess if they're going to go to that extreme of trying to limit its use, you should just get rid of it and just test the waters with the fan base and see, can they actually go back to a Halo game without sprint? And for the most part, I think the answer would be yes. But they're too afraid to completely remove sprint from the game. That's why they have that option to go, 5% faster, I think it is, or 10% faster. It's
just dumb.
It is so minimal,
Yeah.
the difference in sprint speed and regular movement speed and infinite. It's almost pointless besides the slide. Like, the only reason people make an excuse for it is, of course, the slide mechanic. But I don't know, I mean, for me, I personally couldn't give a rat's ass about that mechanic. But yeah, I'm not fussed by it. Don't really care for it. So if they have another Halo game without it, I will be totally okay, and go a step further, take sprint out too. We may as well just try it out, see how it goes, see how the Halo fans react to it. I'll be okay with that.
I don't see the point in modernizing CE, right?
Yeah.
Like, because not only it's a big gamble to play, because not only would it upset many of the classic fans, but it would, I think, severely fuck up the pace of enemy encounters and the whole feel of the game. Because, by that point, you might as well not even call it Halo Combat Evolved. I feel like sprint and slide and clamber and that kind of stuff is more so to appeal to a wider demographic of players as opposed to like core Halo fans.
Yeah.
And it came as a response to Call of Duty initially, and with Halo 4, and then in Halo 5 it came as a response to like enhanced movement shooters of that period in time, like Titanfall and stuff. And Infinite again feels like, in many ways, the movement is very similar to sort of modern Call of Duty now again too. Just again kind of diluted down to the point where it's almost inconsequential to how you actually play the game, like sprint over giving you like a 5% movement increase. And again, we haven't had a proper classic Halo experience arguably since Halo 3 in 2007. I mean, at a push you could say Halo Reach, but
Even
really Halo 3
ODST as well.
And last I checked, that was the best-selling Halo game. So
True.
Yeah.
maybe we should. I'm not saying that we need Halo 3 2 Electric Boogaloo, although Halo 3 Anniversary with blur cutscenes would be pretty fucking dope.
Funny you mentioned that.
But
The rumor I heard. I'm kidding.
well, we'll get to that. Yeah. So why don't we give that kind of gameplay loop and formula another try? It just, I think they've tried everything else. Maybe it's worth just going back to the roots, literally with this CE remake, and in terms of gameplay as well with how it was done. That's just my 2 cents.
If they were to do it again, do you guys think it would be M-rated or PG or teen?
If they
MA.
yeah,
You reckon?
Go hard with it. Go hard with it.
They should add gore.
I wouldn't even be against
To
it.
be able to add jibbing and blowing up grunts and stuff.
Or like the flood
I reckon
carriers
that'd
and
be
shit?
pretty cool.
That'd be mental.
It's never even been that bad. Like, they have blue blood and all that.
Yeah.
And, like, grunts just explode in methane and all that. So it's not even good.
Wasn't it the human
I
blood?
don't think it would even
That's
be
the-
MA or whatever.
Was that the reason it was?
Probably. But it's really basic as well. Like,
Yeah.
when you shoot Marines, like they just have a tiny blood spurt and that's it.
Yeah.
That's one of my fondest memories of CE, is just like punching an elite to see how much blood I could get out of his body.
Yep. Spraying the walls.
Yeah, just purple all along the ground. Like, keep punching him until that green
Send a message
that
to the
green
Covenant.
grass of. Yeah. I think it's a bit hard to try and adapt Combat Evolved without making it like an MA rated or
Yeah.
I guess like mature in the US rated game. Because like the Flood, just by their very existence, kind of jumped the game's classification up already because of just how grotesque and nasty looking they are.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at the copy of Combat Evolved Anniversary that I have on my shelf behind me, and it's got an MA rating. So if they decide, that was the one thing it got right.
The one thing.
So
One.
if they decide to dial it back again, that's that's going to be rough. But I think there is an argument to be made that, especially now, I feel like a lot of people are going through this phase, and I've seen it a lot for the Source engine, but also for Combat Evolved as well. People are kind of looking back at those games and being like, there's something very unnerving about these. Like, just the old version of the engine and stuff, or whatever it is. And Combat Evolved has a kind of eerie horror vibe sometimes going for it, not just in 343 Guilty Spark, but throughout the game as a whole. A lot of that is like to do with the music, but like I remember playing, I think it's Silent Cartographer for the first time, when you go down into like the near the control room, and there's that cutscene where Chief goes over to the edge of that bridge and kicks the rock off the end or something, because there's a rock in a Forerunner cavern for some reason, in that entirely optional cutscene. And there's like this really ominous music playing the entire time, and it's really got you on edge. So I hope that if they, when they remake CE, that they play more into that kind of horror vibe and up the level of tension and mystery that you get from exploring Halo. Especially if it's going to be for new players as well. You want them to kind of be like, oh, what is this place? What's going on?
Have you guys seen the Halo Wars 2 cutscenes that they had with the Flood? I'm pretty sure that was PG here in Australia.
Yeah.
I think. Or teen, sorry.
Yeah, I do remember those. I think those are a bit, like, they were a bit too cartoony.
Yeah.
Like, they were very light. Like, they had a lot of lights
Yes.
on them. Like, they glow.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I think they're a bit toothless, They didn't feel like the zombie threat.
As terrifying as they should be. Yeah, I agree with that.
On the spectrum of horror villains, I hope that they lean more into, like, John Carpenter's The Thing, like, xenomorph kind of territory, as opposed to what they did in Halo Wars. Because even though it was a decent kind of depiction of the Flood, I don't know if it was quite grotesque enough. That sounds awful to say, but like, you got to get that level of grotesqueness up, my boys. You got to do it.
Yeah, get freaky with it.
Yeah, make it bloodier. I agree with that. It needs to be more of a hard edge. Like The Thing. You mentioned The Thing. I think that was pretty clearly an influence for the original Flood, like in Halo 1, I feel.
Oh yeah, like the spider head thing was very reminiscent of the infection forms. I think that was probably a big influence.
Yeah.
And like the big, like the claw arms and stuff as well. That's very very John Carpenter. The other thing as well, while we're on the topic of new depictions of things, is that I'm interested to hear your opinions on how far would you be willing to accept them changing the gameplay of, or maybe the sandbox of Combat Evolved. Like, if they were to add in some new weapons or something, or new vehicles, where would you draw the line with that?
I think if they had to change the sandbox, well, I think if they're doing a remake, you kind of have to change it. Like, even if you're rebuilding the game from the ground up, it's going to be brand new. So long as they don't insist on like anything from Halo 4 or 5 or anything like that, I feel like they can
keep going.
I feel like they can still do fine. But I think they can definitely add new weapons and vehicles, like the energy sword, for example.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, that seems like an obvious thing, because there's already an energy sword in the game. And I'm assuming with a remake, it wouldn't be like one-to-one the same with the levels. It would be more a similar vibe.
What if they added missions? like to make it bigger.
I wouldn't mind that either. Yeah, well, I think the original plan for Halo CE, there were like scrapped missions and stuff. I mean, in every game basically. But for Halo, there's these scrapped missions, and they'd still probably fit in the story as we had it. I think some of them even would help the pacing. I don't know,
Yeah, I agree.
because I think the game could be longer.
Yeah. How long is Halo CE like now if you were to run it? Like, let's say like heroic difficulty or normal difficulty.
I reckon like if you were taking your time with it, probably maybe 5 or 6 hours.
6 hours, yeah.
Well, actually, you know what? We can look it up. We can look what time they estimate for like a brand new player.
Yeah, like a
Because
total
obviously
newbie.
it's different if you played it before. Okay, they say 10 hours online.
Oh,
Damn.
wow. Okay.
Which, yeah,
We should be quick with it.
that does seem pretty long.
Yeah.
Yeah. That does seem like a while.
That's actually quite a bit.
But then again, I think that the second half of Combat Evolved does tend to drag on a bit. There's quite a bit going on at the end of that game that can be a bit
Yeah.
trying, shall we say?
Yeah.
Between the library and 2 betrayals, those missions go on for fucking ever.
Oh,
That's true.
What if they were to change it up and have completely new missions for the second half of the game? Instead of just, you know how obviously we have it where you're going back through those old missions, like 2 betrayals is Assault Control Room, Keys is Truth and Reconciliation. What if they were to build completely new environments for those missions? Except, let's say for Keys, you still have to get back onto the, Truth and Reconciliation to get to get the keys, but they could have it where the environments are still different, and it's not going to be something that you'll have played earlier in the game, so to speak. If you get me.
Well, I do kind of like how Halo goes like full circle.
You like that? Like it's a bit symbolic of the Halo universe.
Because, it's like you end at the same place you started, like on the Pillar of Autumn. I think some places do it better than others, though. Like, I think Keys, I think that like reinvented, the Keys like reinvented the Truth and Reconciliation level, and that felt like completely different, right, when you play through it.
That's a good example.
Yeah.
I think the Flood is kind of a good kind of avenue to do that,
Because they changed the gameplay up completely, eh?
Yeah, because they completely they change the levels and the like atmosphere and everything, and then like the visuals, like they kind of like a like a good medium to just like remix, what's there, to remix the existing levels. 'Cause they do that a few times. They do that with Floodgate as well in Halo 3.
Yeah. Wasn't that meant to be a lot longer as well, that mission? I think. We could talk about this one for a bit, but I'm pretty sure wasn't the second half of that supposed to be, what do you call it, Cortana, the second last mission, but they scrapped it and saved it for Cortana. So what we were expecting to get with the, High Charity, flood-infested High Charity, was actually just used for, hang on, let me see. It was a crashed ship that was infected by the flood, but that ended up being scrapped and saved for the Cortana mission, which Bungie were originally planning to have, a huge amount of things going on, like, the Scarab thing, the Gravemind boss fight, stuff like that, the Arbiter infected, all that sort of stuff.
I was watching back over the developer commentaries for Halo 1 and Halo 2, with Joe, Marty, and Jason Jones as well, and they were talking about 2 betrayals, and at the end of the mission where you have to go up to the different like Forerunner power nodes or whatever and step in them, and it turns off your shields and you overload them or whatever, and at the end of the mission you just kind of randomly teleport out and end up in Keys, and there's this like very awkward exposition dump from Cortana where how she explains, oh, now I can teleport you to different places. And Marty was kind of digging into them about that, and they were like, yeah, look, we had another mission planned, but we just didn't have the time to do it. So maybe that would be a good excuse to flesh out the second half of Halo's campaign a little bit, not just because it's a bit repetitive in some respects, but also just to try and build upon the lost ideas that were overlooked or whatever for time constraints or story reasons. And I think of like Black Mesa, which is the community fan-made remaster of the first Half-Life game, where again, Half-Life has a similar problem to Combat Evolved, where a lot of people hate the second half of that game.
Well, it's not even the second half. It's like Zen is like last third of it.
Like the last quarter, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But everything that happens on this alien world called Zen, people fucking hate it. And so when the Black Mesa Crowbar Collective, that was the name of the development team, when they went back to do Black Mesa, which is the remaster of Half-Life, they like thoroughly overhauled the Zen segments of the game. They completely changed the way the planet looked, so it didn't look like it was made out of fucking Swiss cheese 2D textures anymore. It was, like it had some color and some lively, kind of atmosphere to it, and like additional boss fights and stuff like that. And it was really well done. And it was probably my favorite part of the game. So maybe they could do something similar with Combat Evolved Remake and just dial it all the way up. Because there are definitely some missions that need that little bit of oomph, I would say.
Yeah.
And I think the library is a good example of that, because there ain't no way they're letting that mission pass as it did for the remake. They're gonna have to change it up somehow.
Well, like I said, I think if it's a remake, they probably need to reimagine all of them. But some of them do need to be changed more than others.
The other kind of potential rumor is that it might just be campaign only. I'd be eager to hear thoughts on that, and if you reckon it should be like the full package, or if it should be just the story mode.
I think it should be the full package. I think it would be cool if they allowed like modding from the start, but I don't know how feasible that is. We already have the blueprint, like we already know exactly what to do for the multiplayer. Like you already have an existing multiplayer. If they did add the multiplayer, like put the resources into it, they would still need to actually like they need to put a lot of resources into it. And if they did that, they'd need to actually make it worthwhile and like keep supporting it, I guess. Like that's probably the typical way companies look at it. Like that's kind of their expectation, I'd imagine.
As long as there's no monetization.
Yeah, that's the concern, isn't it? That they turn it into another live service or something.
I mean, if it's going to PlayStation, that's the rumor. That's what you were saying, Labour.
Yeah.
If they are to try to get a bunch of other people playing it from the start, then I feel like they're going to try, like knowing Microsoft, they'll surely try monetize it whatever way they can. Especially if, like, as Nolan was saying, if they spend a lot of time building that multiplayer experience up from the ground, then surely they're going to want some sort of, revenue from that. Maybe not. Maybe if they got their head not up their ass, they should get it right and not do that. But if it is, then they'll be looking for some way to make money. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like a battle pass. Who knows?
I think the ideal solution would be to do something similar to what the MCC has done, where if they're going to have seasons, don't make them too intrusive and in your face, and just make it so that, there's different challenges that you have to complete, or even just by playing the game to get credits to go through the season pass or whatever it is.
I think Doom Eternal handled it pretty well. They had like updates, and they even added more content like post-release to that battle mode that nobody even plays, that no one really liked that much.
Ouch.
So I think there's plenty of examples for how they can do it well, and like kind of how they can be like pro consumer about it or whatever. Yeah. I mean, Doom Eternal is probably a good example in a lot of ways. Also, it kind of brought back like a really old franchise, and I think updated it quite Well, Doom 2016, it updated it quite successfully for the modern day. It still doesn't play like every other modern game. Like, obviously, no sprint.
Wow.
But also,
so you love it.
Yeah, well, no. It also didn't have a lot of the other like, you didn't have like wall running or whatever, like a bunch of like, abilities.
Titanfall shit.
Yeah. I mean, they did obviously add some new abilities, like Doom Eternal, you get like a double jump and more movement options and like clamber and stuff. But still, I think they didn't just make it play like Call of Duty,
Yeah. Hint at People 3. No, I'm kidding. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're not wrong. The industry is moving towards a kind of hegemony. It's like first-person shooter games all seem to be following the same path of how they play and how they look and mechanics and stuff. Like Battlefield, Call of Duty, and Halo as well, like the big three, a lot of them have in common is sprint, slide, and clamber. So getting more FPS games out there that are kind of distant from that style of gameplay, I think it's nothing but a good thing. I mean, you look at Counter-Strike, no sprint, no aim down sights unless it's with a gun that has a scope, and it's the most popular game on Steam and in the world right now.
Yeah.
So I think, we're circling back again, talking of circles, but there's every possible reason that something different might be good.
Yeah, I think they need to have some... I think it shows a lack of confidence, really, to just want to copy other people, what everyone else is doing. Like, it just shows a lack of belief in what you're making in your product. Because
the whole chasing trend.
Exactly, yeah. Because ultimately, like, sprint's been in the game since, Reach? It's never really been a Halo feature. Like, it's kind of always been tacked on. I keep on bringing up sprint again, but it's more as a sign of, like, all the modern features, and like I just use that as the one example that keeps coming back. But it is all the modern shooter things, like aim down sights and all that.
I mean, that kind of leached into Halo as well. I mean, Halo did have it slightly, but not as not as much as like Halo 5. Halo 5 was where they were like, okay, let's give it to every goddamn weapon in the game to match Halo and all that. To match COD, sorry.
I never understood that, because in Halo 5 it actually, like Smart Link or Smart Scope or whatever it was called, actually had a benefit to some of the weapons in the game. And I remember for a while it made the assault rifle like shred. Fucking ridiculous. It was like the best precision weapon in the game when you aimed when you smart scoped with it. And then in Infinite, like, they gave you the option to, but it didn't fucking do anything. And again, it's similar to Sprint, where it's like, why would you add this feature if the difference it's making is so negligible? It's just, like, it doesn't need to be there. You can cut it out and the game would play the exact same. Yeah, it's bizarre, but...
Yeah.
I mean, look, Microsoft fucking own Call of Duty now. There is no excuse to not make Halo its own thing anymore. That's just how I see it. Like, I'm sorry, it's not competition anymore, it's monopoly. You guys can make Halo whatever the fuck you want to be now. Like, you're not trading punches with Activision because you own them. It's all a fugazi, it's not fucking real. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Just, I wonder if they were to make an actual Halo game similar in style to Halo 3, which is actually not far away from Halo Infinite. Like, let's, if we're being honest, if they were to just do that and just see how it would go, would it be successful? That's the question. I think it would be.
I think a lot of people still have fond memories of Halo. Like, it was the biggest game in the world. Like, let's be honest, the reason it's gone downhill, you can talk about it's lost, interest or whatever. It's because the games have sucked. They've put out too many bad Halo games, since Bungie. Since Halo Reach, like, like, there's too many flops in a row. But I feel like if they just make a good game, people will turn out for it.
Yeah, I completely agree.
But they just don't want to do that. They have a big button in their office that says make a good game, and they just press that button. But they just don't do that for some reason. I don't know.
And that button just takes away sprint, takes away clamor, takes away.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. Yeah,
that's the solution. It's like Mr. Krabs trying to get the money. What am I thinking of? Not Mr. Krabs. I'm thinking of what's that recipe? It's like they're trying to get that recipe, and that recipe, that's sacred
the plankton.
That's it.
Give
that's
me the formula.
The formula. That's it. And the special formula.
Yeah.
The formula
the
for Halo
formula,
is that, but they can't get it for some reason. It's like locked away in some Microsoft goddamn the headquarters. Who knows? But they've been trying to get it for ages.
What do you guys think of it going to PlayStation? If it does,
Lapey, you smash this one first, bro.
I'll take you go first.
I've got my opinion on it.
Look, I think that Xbox is changing its strategy. I think that on a whole, within the next few years, I know people are... This ain't a fucking original opinion, all right? I'm just looking at what I'm seeing. I think that the Xbox console will probably not be a thing, maybe not the next generation, but the generation after that. I think that Xbox will be more so a gaming subscription service, which they've alluded to doing already with Game Pass, that'll just be available on the consoles that still exist, and probably on PC and maybe PlayStation at some point. God forbid Sony let that happen. So I think that Halo coming to PlayStation is just kind of like the logical next step. But at the same time, I'm like a firm believer in solid media, like hard copies, and just the Xbox console as a whole, as a brand. And I really wish, especially after so much goodwill was kind of brought back with, I think the Xbox Games Showcase was pretty solid for the most part, aside from the omission of Halo, which is unfortunate. It seems as though like they're kind of steering things in a better direction, so I almost don't want them to go down the path of just kind of giving up and throwing in the towel and being like, oh well, fuck our hardware, we'll just go balls deep on the subscription service thing for Game Pass.
That's what I think. I think it's worse for the consumers if there's one like major competitor that kind of dips out of the market, you know. So I think if we didn't have Xbox, there would be like basically only two main consoles viably like competing. And I don't know, I just feel like that would be worth. No. But yeah, I mean, no more Xboxes. I think that would suck. I think they should be a bit more competitive, basically. Like, they had a good showcase. They need to stop spending bajillions on buying studios.
And then closing them down.
And then closing them down. Yeah.
Literally.
Like Arcane, like the creators of Dishonored. Man.
And Tango, and yeah.
Yeah.
Who created Hi-Fi Rush? What was that company again?
That was Tango.
Tango, yeah. I can't believe they shot them down. Mental.
They made The Evil Within as well.
That game was by all metrics a success that just came out of nowhere, and just fucking shut them down. It's like, well,
and poof, gone. Yep.
Yeah. Xbox and Microsoft are just like in this really weird patch at the moment where like the console isn't selling particularly well. They've kind of managed to claw back some goodwill that they lost immensely during the 8th gen of consoles with like the Xbox One and stuff, but it still just doesn't seem to be enough to shift the dial. By all other metrics, PlayStation is running circles around them, but you're right, nerd, they need that competition, because Nintendo sure as hell ain't fucking competing with PlayStation. They are in two completely different camps.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what we're moving towards now, is like, instead of there being competition within the console gaming space, it's like everyone's just got to kind of go off and do their own thing. And yeah, PlayStation will probably cement themselves as the classic, what we consider gaming console experience will be them. Nintendo will go more lean towards like the portable handheld kind of more fun kid-oriented games, I reckon. And, you know, PC will probably just be the platform that Xbox kind of lives through stuff like Game Pass and whatever else. And maybe Game Pass will come to other, you know, other platforms like Nintendo and PlayStation eventually, but it won't be even close to competing in the same realm that it once did during the 360 and, you know, the original consoles era, which is, yeah, unfortunate. But who knows, maybe it'll change. We you know, fucking next year, the Xbox Series X sales might fucking skyrocket, and
release of Halo 3 too, you know, the exact same game. It will skyrocket sales. That's the solution.
Halo 3 remastered anniversary reimagining with cutscenes by Blur Studios, and multiplayer is exactly as it shipped 10 years ago.
No changes whatsoever.
Not at all. Not at all.
No, I was just going to say about the whole PlayStation thing. I think if we were to have, you know, Halo games go onto PlayStation, I think I'd be okay with that, just to give those players a fresh experience on Halo. A lot of them have never played Halo before because they've stuck with PlayStation, unless they, you know, had an Xbox 360 in the past. But I think if we were to give those players the opportunity to play Halo, I don't think that would be a bad thing. But as you guys are saying, I don't want to see the Xbox disappear. I think I'd hate that. Xbox should stick around, be the competitor for PlayStation, and Halo should exist on both platforms, you know, and also PC. It shouldn't just be on the Xbox shouldn't cease to exist because of the PlayStation.
Got to have someone there to keep Sony, those bastards. Got to keep them honest.
Yeah.
Got to keep them in check, keep it in line.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they're not really doing that well. right now.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Not
recently, that's what I'm.
Yeah, not recently.
Wouldn't surprise me, especially with what we've been hearing lately. But if they were to scrap the momentum that Infinite made, I know it wasn't a huge deal, so to speak, with the story. I think it was a much more smaller scale with the story. It was mainly focused on the characters and their relationships. But I think like it was very clearly setting the foundation for the future. My issue with the whole thing was that we got told and fed that we were going to get, campaign DLCs or, additional campaigns in a few years after launch. We never got it. So it's possible, as you said, they're just thinking, okay, let's reboot the entire thing, get it on PlayStation, have a lot more people playing the game from the start, and not fuck it up the second time. That's what they could be doing. Or they could be trying to expand what Infinite did, but it's an interesting one.
I'm sorry. I'm just sitting here laughing to myself because I realize that we're going to have another fucking timeline. We're going to have the fucking bronze timeline.
You see what they're going to do now?
Oh,
it's going to be
God, please don't fucking say it.
It's going to be connected to the Halo TV series. Pablo Schreiber is going to be voicing Chief.
Master Cheeks, bro.
And Quan is going to be a playable character. Should be playable.
No, Season 2 is the origin story for the CE remake.
And Mackey's the main
and half the game, every cutscene he takes off his helmet and is always
takes off his helmet.
He's in a flood-infested environment. Oh shit! Up it comes! Oh no! Fuck! Where's the helmet gone? Oh no!
Please,
someone at 243 is like, write this down. Send it to our executive.